Okay, let's run.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Greetings and salutations. This is, and I quote, a weekly show where we introduce you some of the best creators from all over the world, and we find out more about them by taking your questions. I am your host, Ryan of And I Quote Channel, and our guest on this episode is someone you've seen around these parts of 100 Acre Wood a little bit before, but now we're going to take the spotlight and just shine it on him. Please welcome indie writer extraordinaire, a gentleman, and a scholar. Paul Landri is here. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, doing great today. How are you?
Oh, we're fine. We're all fine here. No, thank you. How are you? And how are you doing? Don't forget to like and share this episode of And I Quote with your closest friends. If you have any questions for our guest of honor, Paul Landri, let us know in those comments. Let us know in the chat. And if you're watching us live or on the replay, thank you so much for doing so. We cannot do this without you, just to be perfectly honest. With that piece of business out of the way, Paul, what were some of your favorite books or writers growing up?
So, books and writers. Man, I was Stephen King is definitely my favorite because he just scares the crap out of me. And I read him all the time. Mostly like a lot of his short story anthologies, which I really liked. A lot of my biggest influences come from him. I'm currently reading right now. I do an annual reread of Mario Puzo's The Godfather. I write pulp fiction, and that is in my opinion, one of the best pulp novels of all time. Let's see. I haven't read Vonnegut in a while, but I really am due to go to Half Price Books and just go and get a huge stack of his. I really liked his a lot. Simon R. Green is another one. I don't know if you know who that is. He's another one. He does a lot. He does supernatural detective stories, which were very influential in my early days of writing. Back when I was like submitting to Weird Tales magazine, which I don't even know if it exists anymore. I think he's an author that I think you would really enjoy, actually. When I was in college and I was a little edgy, I read a lot of Chuck Palahniuk Fight Club and all that. And but I've since kind of grown out of that for a long time, actually. A lot of the influences that I had when I was younger were a lot of the expanded universe Star Wars books. I must have read every single one of them back in like 1990, 1998, 1997, when they re-released the original trilogy, the special editions.
Oh, yes.
And I remember it just became an obsession, and I devoured every single book that I could. I remember that very fondly, actually, because, and I tell I tell my wife this. I said, my parents owe a lot to George Lucas, because those books and just Star Wars in general, it kept me off of drugs in high school. So, because that's where I spent all my money. I spent, reading all of that. Which is funny, because when I go to the conventions and what's his face? His name escapes me. He wrote Thrawn.
Timothy Zahn.
Yeah, Timothy Zahn. Yeah, for some reason I get him confused with Mike Stackpole, who did the X-Wing series.
Yeah, Rogue Squadron.
Yeah, and I'm always like, I'm gonna go see him, and then I never do, because I don't have any of all of my Star Wars books have been lost to antiquity. And I don't know where they went. So I have to get all of those again, because they're due for another reread. But yeah, and it's funny, because when you talk about like influence and stuff, a lot of the structure of my work is structured like the old, Star Wars books, which I had an agent one time tell me, people don't write books like this anymore. And I'm like, but they're making books just like this all the time. you know. So I don't know. Go figure that. That was when I was fresh out of college, so many, many years ago.
Oh, wow. No, that's cool, man. Yeah, I mean, I've only started reading the Star Wars novels within the last, what do you call it, like few years.
They are
I
fun, man. Like,
I know. But here's the thing, though. This is the thing that I wish the studio would understand is that some of the best storylines come from your books, you know? So for me, now I haven't read some of the, what do you call it, the Legends stuff yet. I'm still kind of working my way through. But I got the Heir to the Empire trilogy sitting on my shelf that a friend of mine got me as a gift many moons ago, believe it or not. Very much so. And I've read Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray. And Claudia Gray is a great writer. I think she's a wonderful, incredible writer. If you want to know more about the relationship that was strained between the two characters, Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan, before the events of the prequel trilogy, read Master and Apprentice, because that book is going to knock you on your keister, if you know what I'm saying. And then what's another one? It's called, oh gosh, Dark Disciple by Christy Golden. Is really, really good. And that was a storyline that was originally going to be adapted into Clone Wars, but unfortunately they couldn't fit it into the series overall at the time. So they put it as a book, as a standalone book. And I thought, whoa, I would have watched this. If this were a television series, I would have watched it, like hands down, because that's how good the writing is, right?
Sure.
So I know I'm naming off the newer canon stuff, and no disrespect to the Legend stuff. I just haven't had a chance to,
Sure. I
think, but it's such good storytelling. I'm like, why doesn't the studio adapt this as a Disney Plus streaming series? Why don't they do that? Because the greatest stories are staring them right in the face, but they choose not to do it.
You should read, speaking of the Legend stuff, one of the best trilogies that came out of that entire thing. Anne Crispin, who wrote the Young Han Solo trilogy.
Oh yeah.
Read that. Phenomenal. That's out of all of the books that I've read, that's the one that I always think about. And I'm like, I really should reread that because it was just so darn good.
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
this
this is another conversation for another one of your round tables, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of fun with that because
it is. Yeah. Well, not only that, there is a show we've been putting it on hiatus for a bit. And I just to give everyone a programming note, the reason we've done that is because there is some new Star Wars content out there. Don't get us wrong. I mean, there always is. There's the new comics, the new games, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But with what's going on with the studio and what's going on with the TV series, and now The Mandalorian and Grogu doesn't come out till next year, and then they got plans for all these supposed new movies that we're probably never going to see. There's really not a whole lot for us to talk about, so we're kind of putting the Nerdy Cantina, which is our Star Wars discussion show, on hiatus. But at the same time, I don't mind doing a one-off and saying, hey, let's get everybody who's fans of the books and who has read the Legends, the non-Legends.
Yeah, that could be fun. I would sign up for that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's an idea that we can throw around. And obviously, Case, aka the Dutch Star Wars guy who puts together all these backgrounds, these overlays, these thumbnails that you've been seeing for the last number of year or two. Thank you so much, Case. Appreciate it, brother. Clearly he's an avid Star Wars fan, so he would have a field day with us talking the books and whatnot, because he's experienced or read / audiobooked a lot of them. So yeah, Case, if you're listening, we may have to bring back Nerdy Cantina in a couple of weeks. So stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned. I do want to remind you, though, that this has been a great episode thus far of And I Quote with Paul Landri, our guest of honor. Don't forget to like and share. If you have any questions, let us know in those comments. And if you're watching us live on the replay, thank you so much for doing that. What would you say are some of your favorite TV series, past or present?
TV series?
Yeah,
past or present? TV series. In general.
Mm-hmm. Past or present. Something you watched when you were a kid or something you watch now?
Well, we're currently doing a rewatch right now of Bob's Burgers. That and American Dad are huge comfort kind of shows for us. I think that American Dad is actually like better than Family Guy, better than anything that really that McFarlane has done. I watch. I don't know. You're sort of from the Northeast. You're in Maryland, but
yes.
Did they have WPIX there?
I think 11? They did. I think they did. Yeah.
So then, every New Year's, I will watch The Honeymooners on New Year's Day. They don't have that down here in the South. So I have the DVDs, but it's a tradition. So I always watch that. Twilight Zone, watch a lot of that. Rod Serling is one of the best fiction authors, I think, of all time. So, I kind of like to watch those just to get some, inspiration and ideas. What else? Seinfeld. Always watch Seinfeld. Always, that's another one. I try to watch that in its entirety every year.
Mm-hmm.
Seinfeld was a big help for me
Huge.
after my father passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were old enough to watch it when it was still on the air, and we would watch it every Thursday when it was on NBC. And it's funny because one day we're watching it, and after the show, I don't know, it must have been a Kramer heavy episode, and my dad said he's the funniest supporting character since Art Carney as Ed Norton.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah. And you watch it and you can kind of see it. And let's see what am I watching right now? Peacemaker. That's like the big show that we're watching like weekly that I cannot get enough of. Trying to think if there was anything else right now. Like a lot, like we're very a creature of habit,
Sure.
And I will watch the same shows over and over and over. I tried to watch the new Alien last week.
Oh, Alien Earth, yeah.
I did not like it. But I'm of the opinion that there were only two good Alien movies, and it's
movie
the first one and the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like Terminator. You got the first one and the second one, and for me, that's it. There's a lot of really cool stuff that they do, but like for me, I can't. I tried to watch the first episode of that show, and I'm like, this show, not my kind of show. Just couldn't really do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see what else. What else do I watch? Gravity Falls. I watch a lot of that. We watch that every year in October. I love that show.
Rick and Morty.
No,
really?
It doesn't. Rick and Morty is like, it's like Futurama without the heart.
And not only that, it's and the creators have admitted thus so. It's a complete ripoff of Back to the Future. And I'm like, dude,
if I want to watch Back to the
nothing
Future,
can top that. Nothing can top
I'm
that.
watching Back to the. I can't. So,
no, I get it.
But yeah, no, I don't watch. I watch. Yeah, we're actually watching the new season of Futurama in between Bob's Burgers. It's very good. I'm a big. Billy West was very influential in getting me to where I am creatively today. It's funny. I have a story about Billy West, and I actually was able to tell him 2 years ago at Dragon Con because I met him at Dragon Con, and I really decided I wanted to kind of get into the whole creative, doing something with it to make some money, not as a career, but as something. It was back in like maybe 2012, I want to say. And he was there, and he was with a couple of the other, heavy hitters, in the Walk of Fame, but him specifically. And I went up to him, and I started riffing some of his characters, Zoidberg and the professor and stuff. And he's like, man, that's really good. You're really good at this. And I told him, I said, one day I'd like to maybe do what you do in some capacity. And, because I also do voice acting as well. And he told me, if you're good at something, you owe it to yourself to do it. This was the advice that he gave me. He says, you owe it to yourself to do it. And he said that adults, or am I allowed to say the S word on this program?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I didn't know what
good. I mean, we try to keep it family friendly, but if you want to slip one in there every now and then, it's fine.
I got you. Well, this is a direct quote. So he said, adults are full of shit, and their job is to tell you no. Your job as a creative person is to find people who are going to say yes to you and what you're doing. And that was the kind of catalyst, because I told him, I said, maybe one day I'll be here where you are in the Walk of Fame. That's very ambitious, right? Not there yet. But he signed a Futurama print for me. And he said, dear Paul, we're saving a seat for you. And I thought that was like, okay, Billy West says he's saving a seat for me. I got to get off my behind and start doing things. And that's kind of where the actual, like, the writing and came about. Because I'm like, well, I always had an affinity for it, and it's a little bit easier to do every day than try and set up a studio in my mom's house, because I was still living there at the time. And I said to Jason, my co-writer, Jason Clark, who is absolutely brilliant. I just got his edits of book 2 back, and I'm just like, where do you get the talent, sir? I told him, I said, let's try writing something. And he says, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, I have these characters in that have been kicking around in my head since college. And I want to try and maybe do something commercial, something fun. And he says, well, what did you have in mind? I said, well, they're superheroes. And he says, well, okay, that's great. What do you want to do with them? And then we started planning, and it was a pretty long planning process, because we're both busy. We're both working. We have lives and stuff. And then we eventually, started writing what would eventually be Return of the Crimson Howl. I started it in a coffee shop called Mocha Joe's Cafe in Brattleboro, Vermont. I was there with my wife. We had gotten engaged, and we were there, and I just started writing. I bought my laptop right now. Actually, no, it's not the same laptop. No, this is a different one. That one I think that one got bricked. But anyway, started writing that, and it became this behemoth. I think I told you behind the scenes, it was almost like a 300-page manuscript with all this backstory and all this cool stuff. And long story short, we were able to, in 2022, get it accepted by a publisher, Airship 27. They're phenomenal. So, hey guys, and came out, and I started, doing some, and I've been doing voice acting with the Atlanta Radio Theater Company, another fantastic organization. If you guys are in the Atlanta area or in Georgia, or, they do all of their rehearsals on Discord and stuff. It's a lot of fun. And I met those people. Basically what I did was I met the people that were going to say yes to me, and it's been a great ride. It's been a lot of fun. And a couple years ago, it was Dragon Con, I think 2024. It was 2024. Yeah, it was. Billy West was there at the Walk of Fame and at Dragon Con. And I went up to him. I said, look, I just wanted to tell you that you gave me advice years ago, and that it paid off, in a very small way. It paid off and he gave me a hug, and he said, I'm proud of you. And I was like, wow, that's my Billy West story. That's my favorite thing to talk about with him. So, that's another reason why I'll watch anything he does. And that's my advice. And you know what? That's the advice I tell people.
Right. For aspiring writers out there, that's what you would say to them.
Anybody really. Because I think it depends on whatever. I mean, it's there's always going to be these gatekeepers that are going to try and keep you from getting into what you want to, and then really there's going to be other people who are in that same field, whatever you want to call it, who will want to hear what you have to say. So don't ever give up. I just wouldn't make it your entire your entire being. I always say this: no one likes a starving artist, because I'm one of those people that I need to have a roof over my head, food to eat, and the lights are on in order to do anything creative. I don't know how people can do it with barely a shoestring. You know what I mean? I don't know how they do it, and I give them a lot of credit, because that's just not how I do it. So.
No, I completely get it, man. Yeah, don't and we've said this a few times on different pieces of programming before. Writing is fun, but very few, if any, make it a full-time career. So don't make it like the be-all, end-all kind of thing, because if you do, it's potentially not going to end up well. I'm sorry to say, but I'm trying to be a realist here. But look, I work a 9-to-5 job during the week, and then I got a part-time job off to the side, but that I'm doing something to bring in extra coin so I can afford to pay my bills and keep the lights on, like you were saying a few moments ago. And for me to work. For me personally, not to get too deep into the weeds here, but I work 43 hours a week, and I do 2 to 3 shows as a podcast on the side. That takes up a lot of my time. So when the weekends come and the adulting has to start, also known as doing laundry, cleaning the house, doing all the stuff that people do on the weekends when they can't really do it during the 9 to 5 during Monday through Friday, respectively, I'm like, where am I going to find time to write, much less
Right.
because honestly, man, and this is the thing I've discovered as I've gotten older, there's only so many hours in a day. And by the time you're like ready to write or read, it's like, 10:30 at night. And you're like, what am I trying to say? You're drained and you just want to go to sleep, wake up the next morning and start all over again. So I'm just,
Yeah. And I think that's just the world we kind of live in. And I think that's really, it doesn't, it's not really built for creative people, and I get that. I know for me, I start a lot of my writing at the beginning of the year. So we've got a project that we've been working on for several years at this point. Jason and I have been working with the estate of Joe Simon, who co-created Captain America, adapting the old Golden Age comic characters that him and Jack Kirby created, namely the Vagabond Prince, the Blue Bolts, and the Black Owl, for the Atlanta Radio Theater Company. And we ran out of material this year. We did 3 episodes. We do them at Dragon Con. We do them at the Academy Theater for free, because we're actually not allowed to charge. That was part of the deal. We could do them at conventions and we could do them elsewhere as long as we don't make any money, which we don't. And we ran out of material because 2 of the characters only had like 3 issues in the comics. And now I'm kind of going in our uncharted waters, and I've just been trying to figure out how I'm going to do another 3 episodes to end it and then do whatever with it. But that's been one of the greatest creative endeavors I've ever had. I was always a big, Kirby fan. And to be working with, basically royalty in the comic book world it's incredible. And I wouldn't have been able to do that. and this is just another thing that it definitely is a who type of a situation. I fell into this by sheer accident and luck. My wife's uncle, Harry Mendrick, worked with Joe Simon for many years, restoring, and I'm actually going to plug a couple things here, so I hope you don't mind. Worked with Joe Simon for many, many years, restoring a lot of the old Simon and Kirby comics. And they got together, not even coincidentally. He was at New York City Comic Con, and Harry Mendrick had been doing all of this stuff with just digitizing and remastering the old comics. He bought some of his work over to Joe's table and said, "Here, I just want to show you what I've been working on, just as a random fan." And Joe looked at the stuff. He says, "This looks like it just came off the presses yesterday." And they started a relationship. They became good friends. And not to go off on a tangent, but I remember we were going to go and visit him. This is when Captain America first came out, the movie, with Chris Evans. And, that kind of solidified what I already kind of knew about myself, which is I love Captain America, but this made it even more so. But he passed away before we had the chance. But when I was courting my wife, back in 2008, when we first started dating, and they found out that I was a comic book fan, I would go over for like Christmas, Easter, just a random, and he would come down from Manhattan and he would say, "Oh, wait, Paul, I have something for you." And it would be the new Titan books, Simon and Kirby superhero, Simon and Kirby horror, Simon and Kirby crime. And he'd give me a copy and he'd say, "Here, look on the first page." And the first page was always, to Paul from Joe. I've got like 3 Joe Simon autographs. It's really cool. So one year we were up in New Jersey. We just moved to Atlanta that summer, and it was around Thanksgiving time. We had just come off doing a few shows with the Atlanta Radio Theater Company. And my wife kind of poked me and said, "Hey, you should ask Uncle Bud," we call him Bud, "Uncle Bud, about the thing we were talking about." So I said, "Yeah, okay, I'll ask." So I said to him, I said, I work with this nonprofit organization, and I would like to maybe adapt some of the old superheroes as radio shows, because that's what they do. And he says, that sounds like a neat idea. And we talked a little bit. And he says, you know what? I want you to, when you get back down to Atlanta, we were up in New Jersey at the time, pitch it to me. Just write what you want to do and what you think it would be and how you would execute it. And I'll send it over to them. Okay. So it's around Christmas time. Well, as soon as we get back, I write him the email with the pitch on it. Very simple. This is what we were going to do and all that. And we're getting ready for Christmas. A couple of weeks later, I get an email from him, and he says, "Hey, by the way, I wanted to let you know I sent your pitch to the estate. They love the idea, so go ahead." And that is, and this is an interesting segue because, we did a couple of Blue Bolts, Vagabond Prince, Black Owls, big hit at Dragon Con. We still do it. We just did one this year. It was episode 3, so we're going to be doing episode 4 next year. So if you're Ryan coming down, comic book track, you better come see me.
It would be nice.
And and it's funny because and where I'm going with this is that it all goes back to who you know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we were trying to get Crimson Howl published, we were looking for a home for it. We couldn't figure out any, the litany of rejections from agents, from publishers. It happens. It happens to everybody. It's almost like winning the lottery at this point. So I was talking to a childhood friend of mine. We talk every day. My friend Steve Spizzato. Steve, if you're listening, I got to thank you again. I'll see you, hopefully soon. He said, I have a distant cousin who has a publishing house out in Colorado, of all places. And he's like, I think it would be good. I think you should, I'll introduce you guys via email. So he introduced me to Ron at Airship 27. And, it was pretty neat because he is, if you don't know anything about Ron is a comic book guy. He, used to work for Marvel. I believe he did Green Hornet. I want to say he also did Terminator. He did a bunch of stuff, and he's doing indie comics right now. So I just want to, hopefully everybody sees this, and we'll help him get Brother Bones published. So hopefully that's going to be coming out soon. So if you haven't, definitely check him out. And it, I emailed him and said, "Hi, this is what I have. I've got this superhero story, and currently working with the estate of Joe Simon and all this stuff." And I guess that must have piqued his interest. And as a what was it Guy Gardner said, as a fellow man of the cloth, and he read it and he liked it, and he said, I want to publish this. And there you go. And then the rest is history. I didn't realize that he was going to hire artists to do like interior artwork, and I didn't realize, we're talking like red carpet type stuff. He's like, I'm gonna find a comic book artist to do the cover, and it has just been really cool. And I think a lot of that just wouldn't have happened if we didn't get really lucky with that whole, we know this person, we work with this person. So networking certainly does help. So that's another little piece of advice, that I would give, get to know as many creative people as you can, because you never know,
Yeah. That's very true. That's very true. And thank you for sharing those great E True Hollywood stories with us. That is just, that is, what am I trying to say? It's more phenomenal, as one might say. And what else is more phenomenal is this episode of And I Quote with Paul Landri, the guest of honor. Don't forget to like and share. If you have any questions, let us know in those comments. Let us know in the chat. And if you're watching us live on the replay, thank you so much for doing that. We want to let everybody know we have a new feature here in the studio. It's called QR code. So if you scan that QR code, it's at the top left-hand corner of your screen. It'll take you to the Amazon page where you can buy a copy of Return of the Crimson Howl. So there you go.
Can I borrow that? I need one of those. I don't know how any of that works. So
Yeah.
I just do links and stuff. I don't know.
No. I get that. No, you do have the ability to design your own QR code on social media, Paul. There's a website or something like that. You can put. There is a site that like helps you put it together, and also if you put together your own link tree, and you want to add a QR code to put on your business card that links to your Linktree account, they will give you a QR code.
Neat, cool.
So
yeah, I'm gonna look into that.
That's another thing you can do. It's on
yeah,
what do you call it?
Because I do everything. I do everything like as if it was like 2012 still. Links and all that.
It's okay. This is a new feature that they just added to StreamYard here, the service that we use to do all these shows every week. And thank you to everybody who supports us along the way. Do not get us wrong. You mentioned some of your favorite TV series. You mentioned a few of your favorite movies. Any other favorite movies that stand out to you outside of the comic book genre?
Oh, well, I do my annual. It's almost November. I always do Godfather 1 and 2 on Thanksgiving. On Thanksgiving Day, it's Godfather 1. Black Friday, it's Godfather 2. Always.
Okay.
Oh, don't ask. And you know why? I mean, when we would go to my aunt's house and my grandmother was living there, they would always have it on at Thanksgiving because AMC used to run the the chopped up. They called it. I forget what they called it.
Like a marathon, right?
It was a marathon, but it was like it was in chronological order.
Oh, okay.
And now I've been watching that movie since I was a kid. I probably watched it way too young, and it always, kind of stuck with me, and it is, if you ask me, the first one is the greatest movie ever made. I will not be taking questions. But it was just a tradition that I always liked, that I always associated with Thanksgiving, just because it was always on, and then like a few years later, they changed it to Jurassic Park. And I'm like, this is not what I think of when I think of Thanksgiving. But anyway, I digress. But I always, I watch that a lot. Now that it's, Halloween season, I watch a lot of the old Vincent Price movies and Abbott and Costello, Meet Frankenstein, Hold That Ghost. I really like, if I can get a copy of it, I need to watch the Omega Man again. A lot of the old stuff, definitely a lot of like the old movies. Like we watch Casablanca a lot. I can't get enough of that movie.
It's one of the greatest.
And it's funny because a lot of that dialogue from those old movies.
Oh yeah.
It comes through a lot in my writing too. And I think it needs to, just given the type of story that Jason and I are telling, and because it's, a lot of the characters are from that era. So when you read it, you'll see what I'm talking about. And so what other, well, we talked about Back to the Future. I try to watch that at least once a year.
Oh yeah.
I watch we do Easter time. We watch Lord of the Rings. We'll do the marathon at Easter because I started reading Lord of the Rings in the springtime. So I associate, we have different associations for different things, so I'll watch that Easter weekend. What else? I'll do the, 4th of July. I'll do, what is it? Captain America, Indiana Jones, and The Rocketeer, those are fun. So, it's like, but it depends on my mood. It depends on what I'm feeling like watching, but those are some of my favorites.
No, those are good ones. I may not make an honest buck, but I'm 100% American.
And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. There's a historical reason that.
Oh, the Paul Sorvino says that?
Yeah. So, back then, the mob was
during that time. Yeah.
During that time, the mob guys in Italy were being severely suppressed and eliminated by Mussolini. And a lot of them, and the mob guys in the United States didn't want to be associated with the fascists in Italy.
Oh, now I get it.
Yeah, and
now I get it.
You get
now that's why Eddie says that to Valentine. Who am I trying to say? Oh gosh, why am I blanking? It's Timothy Dalton, but I'm trying to think of his character.
Right.
Oh, Neville Sinclair. Sinclair.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's
All right.
why.
I was trying to think. I was like, I've seen this movie so many times. But why am I blanking on the character name? But it's
Mhm.
Sinclair.
Yeah,
It's
and
paying you, Eddie.
they didn't they weren't too pleased with what was going on in Italy. That's why Luciano helped with keeping the docks safe during that time, and
That's right.
you know they actually brought him back from Italy after he was exiled. Yeah, they actually they deported him or something. I don't know.
Wow.
But they brought him back because he was like, I can help you, you know, with the war effort, you know. But
Wow. We're going along. You know your history.
well, I have a degree in it, so
Hey, it helps, right? I
It-
know it was you.
every so often it does, but not every day.
Broke my heart. You broke my. Anyway, don't ever take sides against a family again. Sorry, I got some Pacinoisms on the brain here because in 1995, a great film that Pacino and De Niro did together was Heat, and Heat turns 30 this year, and that's one of the best crime thrillers of all time. You know, and yeah, unfortunately, we can't do a watch along of it on our channel because it's a 3-hour movie, but it's such a great movie and by the way, the 3 hours just moves. It does not feel like 3 hours at all. That movie is one of the very few, if any, that just moves. So, and by the way, RIP to Val Kilmer because, played a big part in that movie. So, good stuff when it comes to, what do you call it? Heat starring Al Pacino. That diner scene alone, man. Whew. Some of the best acting in the world. What would you say are some of the biggest rewards about being a writer?
Biggest rewards is just having the story out there, just being able to play in the sandbox, it's its own reward, really. I, not tooting my own horn, but maybe a little, we got an email from Ron at Airship saying that our Crimson Howl actually broke sales records. And I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. Feather in our cap, I suppose. Just basically when you can tell a story and have people read it and enjoy it and like it and want more of it, when we're doing Simon and Kirby, it's really great when the jokes land, because there's a lot of stuff in there that you have to kind of like add to because you have to cushion it a little bit. Just seeing a lot of comic book fans kind of come together and sit there and watch the show that we've written, that is a lot of fun, and getting those accolades, it's great. I think also just from a creative standpoint, it's very cathartic to be able to just tell a story that's coming from inside your brain and putting it out onto a computer screen or whatever you want to, however you do it on a, pen and paper or whatever. I haven't used one of those in a long time, but it's just really cool to just be able to do that and say, I created this thing. What we're going to do with it, I don't know, but it's there, it's like, it's something that's mine, and nobody can take that away, and that's what I really like about writing itself, and it's cool because when you come up with characters, they become like, they live like inside of you. They live inside your head. It's a really cool thing. Like I said, I had these characters kind of knocking around in my head since college, and I'm like, well, let's let them out a little bit. Let's let them have fun, and we do, and I think what's also kind of cool about it is like you can be, a totally different person. Like the creative person that I am is completely different than the actual person who I am. There's things that I can write about that, I wouldn't normally think of, but for a story, it works. And I could just, the most diabolical things you can think of, can come out. And it's like, really? Like, so, and that's a lot of fun. It's cathartic, it allows you to just kind of, let those gears kind of turn. And that's what I like about it. And being a writer is just, it allows you to do those things and allows you to really step out of your comfort zone. There are things that, I had to learn from reading that it's like, oh, it's okay to write this. It's a character. It's not like anything, that comes from you. It's like it comes from the character, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. 100%, man. 100%. On the opposite side of the fence, though, what are some of the biggest challenges about being a writer?
Finding the motivation to do it. I think we've had this conversation before because I tell people I'm very lazy. I when I find time, I find time. There are days when I'll just sit there and the little cursor is just blinking at me like write something, and I'm like, I don't have it. It's not there. Editing really, I hate it. I don't like doing it. But it, it's one of those things that's really necessary. I encourage anybody who is looking to do this to hire someone to edit their books, if you can afford to. We had an editor, Eric Dalen, and Eric, if you're watching, please come back. I don't know what happened to you, but you were phenomenal. Who ripped us a new one every week. He would have for when we were editing Return of the Crimson Howl. And it was so eye-opening. And he's like, wow, there are things that you think are important that aren't. And he's like, no, get rid of this, get rid of that. And I think the biggest challenge really is to be able to let go when somebody who you've hired or somebody who has taken who's volunteering to do this, when they say, get rid of this, when you've poured your entire heart and soul into it, and you think that it is completely necessary for the narrative, and they're saying, no, it's not. There was a couple of stuff. There were a few instances in the first couple of drafts of Return of the Crimson Howl that I was like, this stuff needs to stay in. But then when we got the book edited, it was very hard to let those things go. But looking back, I'm glad that they did, go when they were cut. But that's really difficult because you're like, it's hard to say, are they critiquing the story or are they critiquing you? You know what I mean? And I think that that's really hard. You have to have a thick skin, and I'm kind of a baby. And I think that that's one of the biggest challenges. And then, of course, you have to really, really like rejection. Like, I think you really do. Or you have to expect it. You have to expect it. And I think a lot of writers don't. I think they figure, maybe they do, I don't know. They want their stuff to be like recognized right away. And it's funny when I tell people that this took a decade, basically, to get from draft to publication. It took 10 years. Life kind of gets in the way. Like I said, I'm like you, I'm a working class guy, but at the same time, you just have to kind of keep at it and come back to it when you can. And find those people that are going to tell you yes, but those are the biggest challenges, I think. You just have to really want it and get used to the fact that there's going to be a lot of rejection and a lot of things, because again, you're selling something, and it needs to be something that the people that you're trying to pitch it to can sell and help you sell. So
very good pieces of advice, or good stories and tips and tricks and all that stuff, and telling us about some of the rewards and challenges. We appreciate you saying that, Paul. We really do. And thank you once again for tuning into this episode of A Night Quote with Paul Landri, our guest of honor. Don't forget to like and share. If you have any questions, let us know in those comments. And if you're watching us live on the replay, thank you so much for doing it. Fun fact, Captain America Civil War turns 10 next year, and then Captain America the First Avenger turns 15 in 2026. I know, not to make anyone feel any younger than we already are, but we are planning on doing a few watch-alongs to a lot of different movies. Obviously, because we do it every year, we're in the process of coming up with the schedule for 2026. I believe we decided on Captain America Civil War. Don't think we're going to have time to do Captain America First Avenger, but hey, Captain America is still Captain America no matter what. So Civil War is a darn good movie. So so who knows? Maybe Paul will sit in on that episode and he can
and I'll be wearing my.
You can do the commentary.
Wearing my Captain America cap.
Beautiful. That would be even better. And you already got the Captain America behind you there in your studio.
Right.
So
oh yeah, absolutely.
That'd be nice. Yeah, Civil War is next year, so stay tuned. We're
let me know.
In the process of coming up with the schedule. Once we get the schedule ironed out, get the details out and finalized, We'll let certain people know. We'll let you know, our lovely audience, about when we're going to be doing, because we were we were batting around some of the titles that turn a certain age next year, and we all looked at each other, Austin, Case, and myself, and we said to ourselves, dude, there's just too much. There's so many movies turning an age next year, but we got to narrow it down to a certain number. We can't do all of them, but we are going to do our best to celebrate as many of these movies as we can. Stay tuned. We got a lot of great things planned for you in 2026. Do not get us wrong. But for someone who's unfamiliar with this, what exactly is the elevator pitch of Return of the Crimson Howl?
Oh God, don't make me do this. Elevator.
Well, for someone who's unfamiliar with the book and the story,
Oh well, it's put me on the spot, man.
Hey, at least we got the graphic for you. It's all good.
Hey, look, it's basically it's a superhero whodunit. This is going to be longer than an elevator pitch. This is going to be like an elevator in the Marriott in Atlanta, going from the first floor all the way up.
There you go.
It's a superhero whodunit. That's really what it comes out to. There's a character named Parker McCoy. He's murdered, and it's trying to figure out who did it. And these two federal agents have to go and find the guy in the middle, the Crimson Howl, because they think that he's going to be next to be killed. But it turns out that's not the case, and it's a cross-country kind of journey with them. And we find out that things are not what they seem. One of the major themes here is in this particular book is the darker side of nostalgia. And never meet your heroes. So you will do with that as you will, And the twist at the end sent me to the couch when my wife read it. She's still mad at me, and I think that's why she's typing so furiously right now.
Wow.
Helping me out with some of the last minute edits before we send book 2 to the publisher. So
goodness gracious. Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully we won't get on her bad side.
No, you don't want, not from a creative standpoint, not to a woman with an art degree. You don't want to do that. But I think, if you like Watchmen, you'll really enjoy this. It's funny because, that's not one of the major influences in there. But it definitely has that kind of feel to it. And I think if you like that story, not saying, that I'm as good a writer as Alan Moore. No one currently working, I don't think, is. But, I think if you like that sort of story that has an element of realism to it, again, you mentioned, I mentioned that I have a history degree. I like to incorporate a lot of that into my writing. So you'll see that, the world will feel much like ours, just a little bit different. And part of the world building was trying to incorporate what would, superheroes in real life be like. So I think that is that's part of the narrative, and I think that you'll really enjoy that. I think you really like the dialogue too, and that also comes from being, doing voice acting and things like that. One of the reviews that I had gotten was that Landri and Clark have a real flair for dialogue, and I think that makes it, that was like one of the best compliments that I had ever gotten, I think, as far as my writing is concerned. So that really kind of, we amp that up to 11 in the next 2 books in the series.
That's stellar right there. Well, that's great stuff, man. That's what I was going to say earlier. That's really, really good. And congratulations to you and your co-writer putting this out. And now, hey, because these days, Sydney, you got to make a sequel.
You have to.
Yeah.
That one was hard. That one was like, I put that one off until absolutely I could not anymore, because I had gotten these characters, these new characters. And they were like, Paul, when are we coming out? When do we get to come out and do this? And I'm like, nah, maybe tomorrow. Like I said, it's finding the time. And I just didn't feel like the time was right, and then one day I'm like, you need to just get up on the ladder, get on the diving board, and just do it and let the chips fall, and I did. And it was like, I don't know, it was difficult. Like, it was just really hard to write and bring it to where I wanted it to be. And I think, and it actually turned out to be the best bit of writing that I've ever done, from a story perspective. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, where did this come from? And I tell people, I think, if you like book 1, you're going to love book 2, which is called Reign of the Crimson Howl. And I think you're going to love that one. The story is phenomenal. The characters are tremendous. And it's just a really great continuation of this one.
Ooh, that sounds good. Because that was going to be someone actually popped up here in the chat. Is it Sylvie or Sivey? I'm sorry. Stevie. She's asking, when is the next book coming out?
Well, we are going to be submitting it to Airship on, I think, the 25th.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be submitting for the final draft, and then that has to go through its own process. We've got Sam Salas. He is the artist who does all the interior art. He's champion of the bit, man. He's like, when is this coming out? Because I want to draw. And, so I was like, well, we better get this to him because he's tremendous. He actually, I don't know him. He was hired by Airship to do the interior art. And when I saw the pictures that are in Return of the Crimson Howl, I'm like, how did this man invade my brain? We've never met. We've never met. He read the manuscript, and it was like he plucked from my imagination and drew them in black and white. And I'm like, this is tremendous. So when I found out that he was coming back, I'm like, we have to, this is going to be amazing. And so it will be hopefully 2026. I can't make that guarantee. That's not up to me. That is up to Ron and Rob over at Airship. They tell me, but I'm hoping 2026, but we'll see.
Anything is possible, my friend.
Anything. Yeah. Hopefully we'll get Ted Hammond back. Ted Hammond did that cover. And I couldn't believe it. When they showed me the cover, I was like, this is tremendous. The only thing missing from this particular cover is the little, that little square that says approved by the Comics Code Authority. He's on Facebook too, Ted. And he's phenomenal. He did some Walking Dead stuff, I think, at one point. And I couldn't believe it. I said, this is exactly what I was hoping this kind of story would get. It would get that kind of comic book splash page treatment. And boy, he delivered, And again, I don't know him. I think they hired these folks, and it was really, really cool. And again, these are guys, Airship, these are comic book men who understand. And I was so happy, and I continue to be very happy with them, that they're going to be publishing this entire series. And because I know that they're going to do justice to everything that Jason and I have been toiling over for the past, almost decade and a half at this point.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of experience. All right. Well, hey, every little bit helps, and teamwork makes the dream work, ladies and gentlemen. That is a fact. Who is an author, living or dead, you want to have a conversation with, and why?
Oh, well, alive, Stephen King. I just want to tell him, like, hey, man, thanks. Because, nobody does characters better than him. Nobody. I again will not be taking questions. His characters feel like they are in the room with you at right this second, and you talk about like the dark side of nostalgia, like with Return of the Crimson Howl. Like he talks about the dark side of human nature, and it's incredible. And that's what's really scary. Not the monsters, not Randall Flagg, not Pennywise. It's the people, which I really like. Dead, Rod Serling. I would love to have a conversation about him, especially if he would be willing to talk about his experience in World War II, because a lot of what he saw, helped shape what we got on the Twilight Zone. And I would love to talk to him about that, because he has some of the best twist endings, but he could also be really tender, I guess is the word, sentimental. The greatest Christmas special of all time now,
oh, wow.
is a Twilight Zone episode. It's called Night of the Meek with
Mhm.
Art Carney
Mhm.
as a drunk department store Santa Claus. He wrote it. Art Carney nailed it. And I watch it every year. And I will continue to do so until I can't find it anymore. But you can get it. You know, it's and it's an incredible just story that I really I'm like, wow, this guy, he's known for scary stuff, but then he'll write something like this, you know, that really tugs at you. And, you know, hey, you know, after several beers, you know, will make you cry. But yeah, so those are the two, definitely. And I think, you know, a lot of people don't give Rod Serling, I think, the kind of the kudos as a writer that other folks kind of get. But yeah, those are my answers.
Good
Yeah.
stuff, man. Good stuff. What is one book that belongs on everyone's bookshelf?
Fiction? I think everybody should read The Stand. I do. I think everybody should read Stephen King's The Stand.
Mhm.
It is phenomenal. It is an epic. It's probably my favorite book of all time. I can't read it all the time. It's like this big. But I think if you really want to get what I was saying about characterization, he's got so many people there in that book and so many different personalities. Like, how do you keep that all in on top of an apocalyptic, plague-infested world, good and evil, God and the Crimson King and all that other stuff? I think everybody should read that. I do. I think at least once. You might not like it, but I think everybody should. Nonfiction, Carl Sagan's The Demon Haunted World. I think every single person, especially children, should read that because it teaches you how to be a skeptic and a scientist. I've read a lot of Carl Sagan too. I should add that to my list of writers who have influenced me. Carl Sagan, Bensonhurst's finest.
There you go. There you go. Speaking of Stephen King, it's on my TBR. Like I said, there's a lot of TBR behind us here in the studio. But for me, my first Stephen King novel that I got a copy of it back here, is Dark Towers, The Gunslinger.
Yes.
Because I mean, look, the movie notwithstanding, because everyone, and I get it. I know how trashy it is. I know how bad it is. I mean, there were a few things I liked about the movie. I mean, not a whole lot, but there were a few things I liked here and there. And one of the things I liked was the mystery surrounding the gunslinger, played by Idris Elba in the movie. And I thought, it's a really cool character. He's, you know, there's a lot to him, but they're not really giving him a whole lot to do because, once again, the movie was paper thin. The script was probably paper thin. There wasn't much to work with, but still, I was fascinated by that character. And a friend of ours here at And Quote Studios, I'm trying to think of who it was. Was it Lou? I think it was Lou Tambone said, if you're going to start reading Stephen King, go back to his original, like the first 3 to 5 of his early works at the very beginning. Right. And he said, you got to read like The Gunslinger, you got to read Christine, you got to read Carrie and all this other stuff.
Oh,
what was another one? What was another one, Lou, that you named? What was it? So Salem's Lot, that was it.
Oh, Salem's Lot. I read every, like the last 2 weeks of October. I reread that one.
So he mentioned those. He mentions those. And I go on Amazon, or what was the other website that we're familiar with? Thriftbooks.com. Great website, in case anyone's wondering. Great website. And I went on Thrift Books and I looked up all those titles. But then when I saw the page number, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is a lot. This is a lot more weight than I wanted to carry specifically. So that's why I went with one of the early books. I went with The Gunslinger, The Dark Towers, the Gunslinger, because I think it's only like 250, 275, something like that. I thought, okay, good way to, you know, work yourself into it, get into the world of Stephen King a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And I like Westerns. I like Gunslinger. I like the character of a gunslinger anyway. So let's see where this goes. I mean, granted, it's not exactly going to be a Western primarily, but still, it's interesting. And I like the cover. So there you go. I was like, yeah, sure. I'll read The Gunslinger. So it's sitting right over here.
And it's his. So the Dark Tower, it's fun. It's his Lord of the Rings, and you'll see there's a lot of callbacks to that.
Oh, is there?
And it's just really cool how he was able to do that. And it's funny because a lot of people consider The Gunslinger the most boring.
Really?
But because he wrote that. That was one of his first things that he did. He was 19 when he wrote it. Jeez. And so go figure that. But it works because it sets up this larger world that I think is just incredibly. Wait until you get to Wizard and Glass. That's all I'm going to tell you. If you like The Gunslinger,
Yes.
and I think you will, because I know you write Westerns, so I think you're going to like that. Wait until you get to Wizard and Glass, I believe, is his best book. Out of all of them, out of everything that he did, Wizard and Glass is the best one.
Wizard and Glass.
Yes, Wizard and Glass. Yeah, that's the
Not
one.
familiar with this, but I'm curious to see where it leads after I read The Gunslinger and get familiar with the
It's
world, universe, and all
so
that.
just no spoilers or anything else, but it's a prequel.
Oh, it is.
But but what and we'll talk about it later. When you're done, you're gonna be like, what the hell, man? Yeah. So anyway, but that's all I'm gonna say about it.
Okay. Without getting into too deep here, folks, getting into too deep to the layers of spoilers. Appreciate that though, but thank you. That's interesting stuff. But yeah, it's sitting right over here. So Lou, I took your advice. I got a copy of it. It's sitting right here on our show. We'll see where it goes. What else we're going to do is we want to take this opportunity to say thank you, Paul Landri, for being here. It was great to see you. Great to get to know you a little bit better and give you a chance to talk about Return of the Crimson Howl, because congratulations on that. Look forward to book 2 whenever it's available to the general public. But for someone who's wanting to follow you, catch up to date with some of the wonderful things you're doing outside of the writing and other stuff you're doing, where can they follow you on social media, Paul?
So yeah, Instagram, I'm Paul.Landri. That's Paul, Paul, Landri. That's where you can find me on Instagram. And then on Facebook, it's just Paul Landri. You'll see me. And a lot of just what I do is just a lot of talking about writing, promoting the book, promoting my, when I have a show with Atlanta Radio Theater Company, and just giving general updates on how I'm doing and what I'm doing. If there's anything particular that I'm reading or if there's anything that I'm particularly fond of. If I'm on vacation and I'm posting pictures, you will see those in case you are interested in anything going on in my life. My Facebook is kind of a fun place. So, where we keep it real light. And I'll probably tell you guys about, the books that I'm reading and why I'm reading them and what I love about them. So that's kind of where we're at with that. But yeah, follow me there. Come find me. And if you get a copy and if you're in the Atlanta area, let me know. I will sign it for you. Let's see. Where else? That's pretty much it. Just those two, that's it. Come find me.
All good
we'll
things.
Have fun. I'll friend you.
that too, ladies and gentlemen. That too. Thank you, Paul, for being here. I'm going to talk to you here again momentarily. So stick around for me, brother. Name's Ryan of AntiQuote Channel. Follow me across all forms of social media simply at, where am I pointing to? Where is it? There it is, at AntiQuote Channel. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, all the things. Social media platforms, I should say. We're on the road to 5,000, and once we do, we'll have a live stream celebration. We're going to invite all our friends to be a part of it. We're going to have special giveaways that you, the person who's watching or listening to this program, are going to be eligible to win. So tell your friends about us. Hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. Why don't ya? Also, it's the turn of the season, so we got hoodies and shirts and stickers you can add to your water bottles or new coffee mugs for Paul to drink his friendly neighborhood coffee or whatever it is he drinks out of that mug there. We got coffee mugs, fellas. It's true. It happens. And they're on sale, too. So you may want to treat yourself in our Redbubble store. Links are located in the description below and also on our social media bios. So make sure you check that out. You want to check out my short story. It's called Wolf of the West. It was published as a part of Veritas Entertainment's Western Tales Volume 1. There is a link in the description and on our social media bios where you can buy a copy of it either by ebook, paperback, or hardcover. Wolf of the West. I had a great time writing it, and I look forward to bringing you even more stories in the year of 2026 and beyond. So thank you so much to everybody who contributed to that anthology, and I am honored to be a part of it, and I look forward to being a part of more anthologies as we go throughout the course of time, also known as Life. Oh, Life. That's right. Yeah, Life. So thank you very much for being a part of this episode of AntiQuote. Do not forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when the videos go up or to go live. Remember, all you got to do is take a look. It's in a book, and check out some of these wonderful creators out there. But you don't have to take my word for it.
Strelin of Ulia is a cursed man, and cursed men are dangerous. He has traveled the known world seeking a way to lift his curse. So far, he has not found what he is looking for. When Trellin arrives in the city of Anshi, in the nation of Paraba, he meets a cold reception. The desert nation is unforgiving. Its people have proven untrustworthy, and the locals have no love for foreigners. Now, a wealthy stranger offers to lift Trellin's curse for a price, and he must make a choice. Seek a solution elsewhere, or risk imprisonment in the Tower of Ruach, a place from whence no man has ever escaped. The known world of a terror, The Prisoner of Ruach Tower. Now available on Amazon in paperback and on Kindle.
I've been a superhero for a long time. It used to be so simple. You catch the bad guys, do the right thing, save the world. Then I met Aiden, and things got complicated.
Iris recruited me as a kid and turned me into their own personal weapon. I couldn't see any way out until I met Marty. But now we're going to burn their entire organization down if we can.
Forces of Nature, books 1 and 2, Scorcher and Thin Ice are available now wherever books are sold online. See www.kellygentner.com.
A mysterious passenger. Mitch Mayhew is carrying more than the mail this flight. Unwanted Passengers, a roaring, prop-spinning, pulse-pounding historical thriller for fans of aerial stunts, flapper-era intrigue, and reluctant heroes with debts to pay and demons to outrun. Order your copy of Unwanted Passenger today.
Good morning! Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.